Hey guys, welcome back to my first video. Today we're going to be making my favorite chonky boy from Animal Crossing, Wardell. I'm going to be using these spare miniature bases measuring 5 centimeters across. I'm basing this scale on Daruk from Breath of the Wild, who is another of my favorite chonky boys. The base sizes are near identical, which is a happy little accident. To start, I'll need some wire to build his skeleton. I have some random wire which is too weak on its own, so I made this wool wire instead, by twisting 2 wires together and forming it to shape. To keep his skeleton from weighing a skeleton, I wrapped his core with foil. This lets us save clay and prevent extra weight so he doesn't topple. Speaking of clay, we're starting on his blubber layer. It doesn't have to be pretty, it won't be seen by the end. This just gives us our base. You'll see me checking it against the drawing to make sure the clay doesn't go outside the lines. I also add the base for his flippers and legs, although I wait until later to add his feet. At this point, it's better to remove clay than add too much. While that's baking, we'll start on the base. I'm using epoxy resin since we can't bake the base without upgrading to liquid status. It's a 2-part epoxy which you mix together in a 1:1 ratio and it cures in about 12 to 24 hours. Mix it until there are no color streaks, then mix more, then cut out those several minutes of footage. I'm smooshing it into the base to offset the top heavy weight of this figure. Otherwise Wardell may take an Olympic nosedive off my shelf. Our baby boy is cooled and ready for his next layer. With this layer, I'm building up his blubber. I'm building up his snout and cheeks. Now he has skin. He has a tummy too. We also give him a dummy thick ass. Then blend that out to achieve his bean shape. After a baking and sanding session, he's looking like a potato. His snoot is up next. I want to be maximum boopable. Using the art as a template, I'm forming the nose. Because I'm stubborn and refuse to buy materials when I run out, I end up attaching these pieces weirdly since I'm out of Sculpty Bacon Bond. I decided to make this figure without it instead of just buying more. A choice which will haunt me with copious amounts of mild annoyance. I add extra clay to smooth the transition from forehead to nose. And I finally add his nostrils so his face looks less bally. I add some clay circles on his eyes to give something for his bubble eyes to cling to. Of course, I wouldn't have to do this if I just bought the materials I need, but effort. I'm marking out the location and adding his bubble eyes. I'm giving him eyelids, so he'll live in external existential crisis being part cartoon and part realistic. I like having figures that I relate to. And with this, he's ready for another bake. Our naked mole rat is cooled down and ready to become a modest mole rat. First is the most important piece of clothing, the hat. Once again using the art as a template, I make a basic hat shape. Begin adding the woven straw texture to the hat to make it vacation ready. finally giving him his flipper feet by making angled triangles. Yet another thing that would have been easier with Bacon Bond. I smooth it into the existing clay, which is a very strong bond that will definitely not cause any issues in the future. His hair is a blob that will be cut back into a nice balding, but not ready to shave at all yet look. This is blended in as well. Wardell gets a toupee curl for his whale pattern baldness. And blend together to give him the Superman hair of his dreams. Here's a riddle. Who wins in a fight between Superman and Wardell? You might be thinking it's Superman, for obvious reasons. But manatees have crazy flipper power. Wardell is the vacation island security since he can backhand any sea monsters that come near. And look at that, his hair is done. Now he's just a naked manatee in a hat, so we should clothe him. Otherwise this video will end up on a different type of hub. A flat piece of clay makes the back half of his shirt. Flipper holes are cut into the shirt. And the shirt is cut to length. The same is done for each side of the front half. His collar is a thin layer of clay. I trace the rough shape, then cut off the excess. The shirt wrinkles and hem are added before baking as well. Also, I'll bake him again since I'm the kind of person who saves often. His feet broke from their totally very strong bond. I don't recommend CA glue for figures that aren't done baking since heat weakens the bond, but he only had one bake left and effort. Winnie the Pooh is finally given pants so he'll stop flashing everyone. Unlike the shirt, his pants are made by adding the edges to give the illusion of pants and prevent inaccurate bulk. And finally, he gets his buttons. Yet another thing made annoying without Bacon Bond. Not sponsored, but Sculpey, hit me up, baby girl. And look at our handsome manatee. Looking all snazzy over there. With the figure done, it's time to finish the base. Wardell deserves a fancy base, so much like life, it'll be a beach. The border will be straw, like his hat. His base gets a pretty little plumeria flower, which is the flower Lottie wears in her hair. Petal shapes are cut out, rolled, and textured. Then joined together with each layer interlocking the last. Attached to the base, add leaves. He's pressed into the base to make a perfect slot for the figure. Using the impression, I make the area deeper. And once he's sanded, washed, and scrubbed clean from dust, I lay him in his bed to dry. Sweet dreams, sweet boy. Hey, look at that, everything is primed now. The primer shows all. Any subtle wonkiness and the sanding marks are obvious now. But since we can see it, we can fix it. And with movie magic, he's fixed. He's looking like a hot mess, but he's a smooth hot mess. And finally, we can make this figure into an amiibo. All thanks to this tiny little totally very legal NFC chip, which is for personal use and not for sale. I have some plow plate that is the same width as my chip, and plow plate that is thin enough to be read through. So I'll make a donut of thick plow plate to house the chip, and a thin circle to sandwich it all together. If you make shallow, consistent cuts, it'll only take you an hour to cut cleanly. To glue the plow plate together, I'm using Mr. Cement. It heats the plastic and fuses them into a single piece. I prefer Tamiya thin cement, but my most recent replacement bottle has been in the mail for months. I love you, Hobbytown, but come on. Frost the donut with CA glue and attach to the base. Fill any gaps with Tamiya putty, then sand. He's primed once again. There was some yellow paint left over in the cup whenever I mixed my primer. But it's fine, since it's painting time. I use a homemade wet palette made out of container lid, paper towels, and tracing paper on top. The tracing paper allows some moisture to come through, which keeps the paint wet for hours longer. I'm a huge fan of Reaper's MSP line. Unlike Games Workshop or P3, MSP is pre-thinned and comes in a dropper bottle. I also thinned the paint further to ensure no brush strokes are visible once he's finished. My blue boy is going to be smooth. It's always better to use many light layers instead of 1 or 2 thick layers. The base gets some love while we wait for the blue to dry. His khakis only took 2 or 3 layers for full coverage. You can really see our business casual manatee coming together. In painting the hat, you can finally see the detailing in the hat texture. The camera refused to pick up those details earlier. He has dark ashy brown hair, which begs the question, why does a manatee have hair? Wendell didn't have hair. Wendell also didn't have eyeballs though. His eyes are soulless black dots. With his face coming together, it's time for his shirt. Normally, red is incredibly pigmented. This specific color mixture was not. Red, blue, purple, white, and black tend to be heavily pigmented, while orange, yellow, and green tend to be thinner and require way more layers. At least in my experience. After quite a while, the base color of the shirt is done. I roughly sketch out the pattern onto his shirt. It doesn't have to be perfect since paint can cover any mistakes. Since the flowers are orange, I'm putting down a base coat of white, just so the orange doesn't require a million coats for full coverage. Painting the flowers was probably my favorite part of this project. Really small details are always fun to work on. It tickles the perfectionist part of my brain, which is right here and there. The rest is anxiety and snails. Hey, we're done with the shirt. And the base. I added some wire to be the filaments of the flower, which plumerias don't have, but it looks better. I repainted the base bottom so I could add Wardell's name. I didn't bother with sketching it out beforehand. The Animal Crossing font isn't difficult to reproduce, but it looks like it is. So now I look like one of those calligraphy people. Wow, so impressive. Thank you. Glue everything together before doing the clear coat. Normally I'd do a matte coat, but a semi-gloss is more similar to the Amiibo plastic. Clear coats protect the paint from chipping or scratching, so it's another way to save your progress. His semi-gloss came out pretty well. but I want his eyes to be glossy and less soulless. Vallejo glass is my favorite for detail gloss. And with that, we can roll the final shot. Our chonky little manatee is finally finished. His scale is perfect compared to the other amiibos. And most importantly, he works! I would like to thank anyone who watched this video. I do a lot of projects and figured I should probably just start filming these. I'm still learning to film and edit, but I look forward to getting better. If you're interested in seeing any future projects, please subscribe. I hope that you all have a fantastic day, and let me know your favorite part of the Animal Crossing DLC.